Hi, Liz.
Hi, Margaret. How are you today?
Really good, thank you. Two tarts on a journey. And so it'll be really interesting to see what our journey's been about for over the last couple of weeks or the last week. And also, yeah, just to see how we are traveling. So how are you traveling?
I think I'm probably traveling very well, although there are issues coming up. I'm still needing to delve into my own self-worth and values on a deeper level. They're still coming up
Yeah.
as I keep moving forward and going through doors, but certainly they come up, and I've just realized how deeply woven they are into our psychic, into our energy fields, this self-worthlessness. And, is it a feminine aspect, a woman's, is it something predominantly more to women because of where we've come from and what we're needing to step through? So it's certainly coming up. And then, as we were saying, it that comes around money and acceptance of self, and what we truly are worthy of. So for me, I'm having to look at that deeper, on a deeper level of
Mm.
moving through with that and recognizing that, yeah, I can have whatever I want on my terms.
It's really interesting, isn't it? And I mean, it's something that has been interwoven through our lives and through my life for all of my life. It's how I learned what my worth was, um, from the way my mother was treated, the way um, she behaved in front of us, and she was a really strong woman, but there was still that sense of having to earn her worth. The fact that she brought up three children, and the fact that she had come from a, a country, when she was in her early 20s, to a new country, and having to forge her way in the world with a husband who was badly injured in the war. This was post World War II. The strength that that woman had, but there was still the underlying sense of that she was a second, a second, not a second class citizen, but like most women, they were still bowing to the masculine and to their husbands. So there's not many women that I knew when I was young who could stand apart in their own right. But it's really interesting because I'm reading a book at the moment, and it's called The Good Wife of Bath, and it's set around Chaucer's time, in the Middle Ages in England, and I'm just blown away in every every page, the way that women were treated, the way that they were, um, perceived, the way that any attempt to be independent or have their independence, have their freedom, was just impossible. The church governed in those days, um, and it was truly difficult. Not
Well, the
that
church
much.
still governs, don't they? Like, you can't have sex before marriage. You will do as your husband says. Like, we've really been stripped of our own identity through that stream, I guess. But, when you start talking about this, like, when did it begin? But you just go back thinking about some of these things, and you look at when women were stoned and burned at the stake because they were healers and they decided the healers were witches, and you think, wow, and that's why when we talk about these things, it's just like it really is embedded in our psyche. But from how long ago did it begin? And there's so much to break through that we're not aware of.
Mm.
you know, our own independence and our own power in our own birthright or sovereignty. It's a lot to break through without even having awareness of it, other than the self-worth issue of self that comes up regularly that's tied into all of that.
Yeah.
You be seen and not spoken. You go and do this, you wear that, you goes
Yeah, but
on.
it continues. It just continues um, this belief, this belief about what women are worth. So I'm really interested to see where other people are and where other women are in their thoughts and in their lives concerning their own status. I ran a really interesting workshop last week, um, and it was about mothering and about parenting, and it was about the connections, the connection of mothers, daughters, um, and how they learn and how they learn through the behavior of their parents, and how to unravel that without disrespecting the place that their mothers were. So it's so interesting, and it's amazing to see that young mothers, and these are mothers in their 30s and 40s, are still grappling with similar issues. They're still grappling with things like mother guilt, which quite frankly, I was quite amazed by. Um, but it's another age-old thing. I think that's the mother guilt thing has come to the fore in recent times. Um, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. But it is still all tied to the expectation that we think that other people have of us as mothers.
I don't think it's even just that. When you were talking then, even my own journey, and I was listening to something the other day, and it's like, it's always the woman brings the child up, or dropping them at daycare. You raise home, you get them dressed, you do their shopping, you do this, but you're still working. And I was sitting down listening to this conversation and it was by a male actually, and he was saying, well, why has it become the woman's responsibility to do the mothering, to do it all? And when you're talking, no wonder we get it wrong, because we've got so much on our shoulders, looking after the husband, having the meals on the table, looking after our children, and still working. And this man said, when did it come onto a woman? We come together in a relationship, we have a discussion as a couple, we are going to have children together. So it's not so they're our children to do that. But, when did that all change? And I think that comes down on women's guilt so much, because we're trying to do it all, but we're trying to do it all because it was that expectation placed on us to do
Yeah.
it. And then we have this guilt and shame around it because we get older and we look back and we think, and I know for myself, it's been massive. Oh my God, I was never there for my kids. I was shift working. I never got to the school
Yes.
because I was doing this and I was doing that. But why was it all right for the husband or the partner to go to work and come home and sit down because he'd done a whole day's work, and the expectation of the mother who's absolutely bloody exhausted? So when did that happen? When it was a joint decision to parent children, not mother
Yeah.
children. And
Yeah.
that's where I think so much of this has gone wrong for women now. They
Mm.
don't know their identity. They don't know who they are because they've been everything but. And,
Mm.
and it goes into you know, having to sometimes ask the husband for money to go out and have a little bit of self-care or a moment out and be deemed, well, that's lazy, you can't do that. Like, I think that's where so much shame and guilt and things is tied into it as well. I might have gone off track there, but just when you were talking, it was like that mothering should have been parenting by two parents. And I think that's why so much has gone, I don't know, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, because in like in my day when I was at school, and I was studying, all I wanted to do was to be a psychiatrist. It was unheard of. And that was many, many moons ago. It was unheard of. You know, women were either teachers or nurses or dental nurses. That was about it if you wanted a professional career. Uh,
Secretary, according to my mother, you know, in the typing
of course, yes,
pools, you know, in the offices, we all just sat there like robots.
yes, yes. So, you know, that was fine. And we did that until we got married. And that was in my day. That was in my day. You did that. I didn't even know why we went to work. That's how far my education went. It was like I didn't even think beyond that. It was like, but I also had no intention to be married either. But there was just this void that was just sitting there. Why am I studying? Um, so then that was what we did. I got, you know, I then got married, I had children, and I stopped working and brought up my children. But then that was then we came into that point where women were encouraged then to go to work. So that was a massive change, and that was a huge push globally in the Western world. And we know for a fact that it was, you know, the Rockefeller Foundation who were there, you know, were there to support the well-being of humanity.
Yeah.
So really, really forcing women to consider getting out into the workforce. And, you know, when you think about how many women are, we know that they have a massive contribution to taxes and to supporting, you know, to supporting all of those foundations. So yeah, so I think that's about when this whole change took place, where families then became secondary to secondary to money. Families weren't that family unit, because the family unit then began to start breaking up.
Yeah, I think we started a conversation on another one we were talking about even in the 60s, where you had the woman vacuuming with the book Could Do It All, you know, and reaching for the husband's pipe, and you had the brand new fridge and the brand new, so all the materialism started coming in. Of course, you
Yeah,
needed
that
the money
was,
to be
yeah.
able to do that, you know, the new car, the new dishwasher, the new vacuum cleaner. It's like everybody then became materialistic and wanted more things. And I think that possibly with what you were saying played out with being pushed out into the workforce, not pushed out, but being it made to look, oh, you know, uh, like it was something that was going to be absolutely magnificent. You know, you could do all
Yeah.
these things, which we know didn't turn out that way.
Well, we knew, I think that, you know, most of us now know that that push for post-war, and especially in post-war America, that push was because women had had a taste of being independent, of being in the forefront of basically of industry when their husbands and you know and the men were at war. So you know, they became very independent. So they did in England. So then there had to be a big push for materialism because, you know, just
Yeah.
give the little woman all of these fancy props and, you know, encourage her to be comfortable, in the home. And then they twist it around and go, well, okay, now we're producing all of this stuff to make you happy. How are we going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it all? You'll have to go out to work to do it. Isn't it? It's just interesting, but you know, it'd be really interesting to know if that's ever a conversation that other women have.
Especially with the changes that are happening now. But it was interesting when you said the courage and the strength women had back then post-war going out. And I sort of have this feeling that, you know, a lot of men admired that. But when you were talking how it was manipulated
Yes.
for the women's courage to then be played into an enslavement type mentality,
Yeah.
which we're continuing to do now. And yeah, the
Yeah.
question is other women recognizing that and going, what am
Mm.
I doing? You know, where's my self-worth? Do I want to do things differently?
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, just having that awareness.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, so what happened? You know, what happened? Um, you know, during both wars, but especially during World War II, when so many women had to go to the forefront of industries. They were in the munitions, they were in, you know, I don't know if you read the book about the mathematicians at NASA, the women who were, they were the backbone of, I better not say too much, but it was such a brilliant thing. And I'll talk about it next week because it's just so interesting how they were kept behind closed doors. They were
Yeah.
treated so badly until one man came along and said, okay, you women, without you and without you solving these huge problems that we have, we'd never, you know, we'd never succeed. Just, and it's
So
still,
you
I
can,
mean, it's never stopped. And I mean, I think that we've made inroads now, but why should we even have to? You know, it's not innate in women to be second class citizens it's or to be lacking in self-worth. That's something that's man-made.
well, we know that now. Well, many of us
And
know that
we,
now
yeah,
that it was doing that. And the question is, you know, are people struggling with that self-worth now that they are
yeah,
worthy of an income?
yeah,
Or no, I'm not even going to say an income because we need to do things differently. We're not going to get on that
yes,
hamster wheel and go and do the 9 to 5 and pay taxes.
yes,
No, we want to do things differently as we come
absolutely.
back into our you know, into our own empowerment. You know, are people, you know, especially our women, you know, thinking about their self-worth and what is it they truly want and not that we've been told that we have to do for, you know.
In order to earn the right to be equal on the planet. Yeah,
Yeah, it's an
interesting.
interest and it's a big thing now. You know, I am seeing it, you know, in my own, you know, business and things and just talking to people that and there are and it's becoming bigger because relationships are breaking down because no people are seeing I don't need to be in an unhappy or place or you know, are wanting things differently and this is where this self-worth comes up because they get out there and then they go, "Oh, you know, am I worthy of this or should I be just back there being unhappy and, you know, am I selfish?" So there's so much attached to
Yeah,
all of those things. So
yeah, yeah, there is. It's huge. And I think that we can certainly do several of these talks on the worth of women and where it is today. You know, I mean, I know, and I work with a lot of very successful women. But I think if they were men doing what what they're doing? Would they have had to work so hard to get the recognition, to get the, and most of them aren't even looking for the recognition, but to get to where they are, they've had to work twice as hard.
And
To
the thing
gain
that
what
just
they
comes
got.
there is because, and if women have to work hard, and that's why there's so much chaos in the world, because it's coming from head, whereas women have always been the emotional one. They come from heart center generally, and that's why it's been pushed down and women have had to work hard. Whereas now, if we can bring that out and continue to do it from the emotional heart centered place of love, and do things differently from that place, and not how we've been programmed in the head to do things, that's
Yeah.
where change will begin. But we do have to break through those programmings and belief systems that we've placed on our not place we have placed on ourselves and continue, but the ones that have been insidiously put there through the programming of what we've had to do to be seen. And there's a lot to be done there.
There is. There is. And we shall continue this next week. So just for now, we'll continue on our journey. And thank you very much. I really love talking. I love doing this with you, Liz, because it's really nice, as we were saying, it's really nice just to have conversations. We don't research what we do. We just sit down and chat as if we're sitting and chatting over a coffee, or neither of us are experts in in what we're talking about. We're just asking questions, and proposing conversations. So just hopefully we can engender some query, some inquiry, and some,
Yeah,
inner thinking. Anyway.
absolutely. I mean, it is just questioning now, like just questioning what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just ask, yeah. So if we can, instill that, or just put that out there and get even one person just to question what they're doing and doing things differently. I mean, conversation's great,
It is.
how simple it can be.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
You too, Margaret. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.